Hello, ladies and gentlemen, witches and wizards, and welcome to Nom Watch Review, where we discuss your latest film drop or discussion in milestone of film, and we eat our favorite noms as we discuss it with each other. Give me 1 second here. I'm having a little technical difficulties. I apologize. All right, so today we are talking about Peter Pan. As we're talking Peter Pan, I am joined with three guests today, which we will go and touch base and introduce each and every one of you. But before we do that, I'm going to mention I'm having today. So today I'm having a little bit of Taco Bell with Dr. Pepper. I got a couple of tacos, burritos. Honestly, there's a lot of here. I can't be making too much noise, but I'm gonna be nomming on some good stuff. Move over to Yaya. Why don't you introduce yourself, my friend, and what are you having with us today?
I am Yaya. It's been a hot minute since I've been on.
Yeah.
So hi everybody. I'm so glad to be back. I am having just a normal bun hoi and nem nướng, some Vietnamese food, and I have some passion fruit tea. And I got this tumbler Little Tokyo, and it matches my aesthetic so well.
Oh, I am so jealous of your noms right now, and looking at my Taco Bell and the different side of that. But you know what? Hey,
If we
it's
can,
okay.
I would totally share and I'll totally trade.
Hey, I'm gonna hold you to it sometime. So
Okay.
next, I want to introduce the man, myth, the legend, Kurt Broz.
Hey, how's it going? What am I doing? I'm having a Diet Coke. I had some Chipotle earlier. It's
Yeah.
uh, it's the middle of the week, so Wednesday's my eat kind of crappy week. But normally I'd be making some nice food, cooking some real good vegetarian, but just Diet Coke right now.
Hey, it's all good. Diet Coke Chipotle sounds delicious to me personally. I'm a sucker for their bowls, man. Oh my god, I
Oh
love the
yeah,
grilled chicken, cilantro rice. Oh,
Mm.
I love
I had
it.
the bowl, and then I got some chips, and I scooped the bowl with the chips.
Oh.
Sometimes my favorites when you take the chips, you crunch them up and kind of mix it up and have a bowl. Oh my god. Lord, I will digress into noms all day long. Last but not least, JP, my friend, will you introduce yourself and what you have with us today?
Hi, I'm JP. Sorry, my camera is being wonky and I'm so sad. So
So
I
sorry.
actually made some vegan tacos
Ooh.
along with some of my homemade Spanish rice. And then I have some vegan sour strawberry kittens gummies
Oh.
that I'm eating for dessert.
That sounds absolutely delicious.
And you guys
God.
can't even see them.
No. It sounds delicious though.
I'm so
Man,
disappointed.
I'm also jealous over what I cannot see over your food too as well. And I don't even oh my god. I tell myself I need protein all day long, but vegan tacos sound so darn delicious right now.
They're so
Oh,
good.
fantastic. All right. So today, once again, guys, for those who are just joining us, thank you. In fact, I want to go into the comment section here. Q saying hello to us. What's up, Q? Good to see you, my friend. He says happy 1st of March. We appreciate that. Q Ball mentions it's funny. When this film came out in 1953, my dad was born January 19th of that year. Right on. That is very cool. Very cool. Going into here, Q Ball Fraser, thanks for love, sending a Yaya way, Kurt's way, myself. I really appreciate you. Peggy says, hello, 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 Peggy. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate you guys jumping in. And on the very bottom, we have, let's see here. I want to say I got this right. It's Pudgy Stitch. Y'all got me downloading this app just so I can watch from work. We love you. Download the app. We appreciate you joining us so much. Appreciate we appreciate you. So we're going to start off with the beginning of Peter Pan to start off with here. Going into the concept of the little intro in the beginning of showing the house, in particular, mentioning the family that's there, they immediately go into mentioning the myth, the legend himself, Peter Pan, and visiting, and the reason why he is visiting this house, saying the fact that there's still people there that believes. As we go in there, we are introduced to Wendy. We're introduced briefly to the mother. The really high, strong father at the time, George, is kind of little, kind of classic. At this time, I'm going to be blunt. In my opinion, a little toxicity on the whole concept of being angry at everything he sees, But you do make the reference to the good old boys of having John, and I believe it's, is it Michael? I
Michael.
believe.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Michael.
So they're doing their things, duking it out, and having explaining Peter Pan and being a definition of one said pirate and two said possibly it's a lost boys. We're not really mentioning that quite yet, but you can tell that there is having fun in telling tales. Now at this point, we're then slowly introduced to the fact that obviously the father's in a rush. He needs to go someplace, taking out the wife to dinner, and says that, hey, if I don't show up, everybody's gonna have judging eyes. And at this point, we can't leave out sweet Nana that's there. Honestly, I have much more love for the dog now than I did before. I just never realized what's the crappy end of the stick, and I'll let you guys go into this as well. Last but not least, we're introduced to the conflict of George wanting to take Mary and Wendy and getting her out of the bedroom with the brothers because he believes that is filling their heads with all these stories of Peter Pan and the Lost Boys and thinks she needs to grow up. So, Kurt, I want to start with you, my friend. In this point in this film, I think we're maybe about 10 to 15 minutes into the film, and we're introduced to a decent amount of characters. In your opinion, in this first 10 minutes, how are you feeling with the pace of it? I know it's only 10 minutes, but are we slightly understanding what's going on? Is the storytelling giving a efficient amount of a starter point for us at this point?
So I guess I should mention my Disney World.
Okay.
Not the place Disney World, but my Disney universe of life.
Okay.
So I growing up, I saw a lot of Disney movies. I know I did, but I don't remember any of them. I was not a Disney kid. So I only know clips and bits. I don't remember any of them. Some of them I never saw, I don't think. So I'm kind of going to this with fresh eyes. I know a lot of Peter Pan, and I know this actual Peter Pan story. I've seen the play and things, but so this is putting it all together was a whole new thing. I rewatched it. And I think the story's moving. It's very the animation and stuff is very of the time. And to me, Peter Pan always works a little bit better as kind of a live action stage play kind of thing.
Okay.
But getting into this, I was enjoying it. I don't know if I was a little kid, I was probably a little bored at this point because we're not to the pirates and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was having fun.
Right on. JP, I want to go to you, my friend. When we come into the pacing of the film, you're saying the introduction to the characters and so forth. Is there anything that sticks out to you most in the first 10 minutes of that you're watching?
First of all, I need to call my therapist because Mr. George is triggering my daddy issues with how he treated them. So I'm going to send the bill to you.
So much true.
But it definitely was a very strong act one. It does a really good job at setting up who the darlings are, their relationships with not only as with the siblings but also with their parents, how judgmental their father actually is, and how it kind of speaks for the time too, because the 1950s, it was all about how the family was perceived. So I think it does a really great job at commenting about the time in which this film was created.
Excellent. That you hit the nail on the head. Right off the bat. Speaking of the time in this situation, we are introduced to George. We see the mother. We see the conflict that's going there, and then obviously we have the two brothers and Wendy and Nana. Question, Yaya, when it comes to the characters, are you vibing to any particular character the most within this 10 minutes? Because I know there's a lot being painted out right now. Is there anything that's really coming out the first?
Nana.
Okay.
I remember seeing this as a kid, and for me as a kid in the beginning, because I haven't watched it in a while now, but I remember this is very Disney, in old Disney, where they have this they'll have the pan of the different scenes with all the writing of whatever. That part always killed me as a kid. So that's the reason why as a kid I hated Disney intros, is because it's it takes forever for things to happen. But no, when I was little and even now, favorite character is always gonna be Nana in the beginning, because I'm just that poor dog is doing everything. That poor dog is taking care of the kids,
medicine,
which apparently most likely is morphine.
Yeah,
that medicine most likely, I know that what was it, Disney later on did say that, oh no, it's castor oil, because they there is but if it were accurate to that time, it's most likely morphine.
Yeah, they're getting high, and oh my god,
right? And then the fact George drags Nana out
and
was all a dog should not be the nanny, and I'm you respect that dog. That dog does your guys' job. Without that dog, I don't know if CPS did not exist back then, but I'm if it did, your children would have been taken away. So yeah.
Oh my god.
Nana.
Nana, awesome, so
Justice
cute,
for
right
Nana.
on. We gotta start justice for Nana.
Hashtag justice for Nana.
Before I go to the next thing, a few more things here. Q Bosses, I remember when I first saw it as a kid. At the time, I saw Wendy and I was like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. And her accent was so adorable. Then Peter shows up and I was like, oh my God, he's like me. Budgie Stitch says, once a wizard, always a wizard. We appreciate that comment, sir. Wizard a wizard. And then along on the bottom, he says, gotta get those kids to sleep somehow. I kid. Dude, no joke. I mean, medicine at the time thing was just a direction to say, hey, we might necessarily not fix the ailments, but we'll make you forget them a little bit. So unfortunately, on that time here, Cuba also mentions that also I love the animation, the pacing, and the flow and the music. There were so many great moments from the crocodile and Hook being too cocky and gets scared of the crocodile and gets his ass whooped by Peter. Yeah, that is some definitely good, funny, enjoyable moments of the film itself. But at this point here, sorry guys, a little digressed here, but we're looking at the concept of, we understand that Nana's really sticking out to us. I mean, at the time being, poor thing had so many blocked of ABCs being knocked out over the place. She's trying to give medicine, like you said, / castor oil to the kids to make sure they're okay. I mean, it's funny because at some point you actually see Wendy coming back and getting things for the actual kids or her brothers and, you know, trying to take care. But at the same time, Nana seems to be like a reflection of her, in my own opinion, of, you know, trying to take care of the children to some extent. Let's be real. Nana was like the best parent out of everybody. We hear the term mother bringing up. I'm telling Aunt Nana was a true mother. Now, on that note, we have the concept of you saying Nana gets dragged out. She gets tied to a post with a string. Poor thing. She's out there in the dang cold weather. Yeah, it's never not cold there sometimes. That being said, at this point, you have both, you know, the Father George and the mother taking off, and they're taking off to this party that they have to go to and making them go to bed early, so to speak. Now, we are then introduced to the myth, the legend himself, Peter Pan flying in because he's attracted to the house, because we have the concept of belief being a very strong portion in this film, or seems like be decent symbol in this film. He goes in, flies in, and slowly decides to sneakily glance in the window for something that he lost previously, which we discover very shortly later is his shadow. In the little rustle and bustle with the shadow, at this point, I thought the animation was pretty decent considering of its time and showing how dark it was, the time showing somebody kind of hiding in the lights and the shadow per se, given that the edition that we are watching is kind of clarified up a little bit more than it used to be. But that being said, duking out with the shadow, makes noise, wakes up Wendy. Wendy gets surprised at what's going on, immediately recognizes Peter Pan and knows who Peter Pan is. At this time, Peter's not too sure if he recognizes Wendy, but notices that he's doing a goofy thing by trying to put the shadow attached to his foot with a bar of soap. In reality, Wendy responds that she's going to go ahead and sew it up with a needle and thread. As this is happening, we both have George and Michael that's woken up at the moment, and they see Peter Pan himself, and they're excited. And we find out that Tinkerbell, which I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'll give my opinion of her later. I don't like her anymore at all. Like, I thought I had some sort of love for Tinkerbell, but man, we won't go there.
The new franchise made her too nice.
Oh, we'll definitely go into that. I would love to talk about that. But the point is, we got a psychotic Tinkerbell that's very grouchy and jealous. You can tell at this point, right? We got a shadow that has reattached to Peter Pan's feet, and now he's trying to tell Wendy and Michael and George that they can fly. Now, in the point, he's showing off so they can fly, bringing up the point the fact that pixie dust is the major factor and happy memories are involved in this. At this time, we see them doing all these little demonstrations of trying to see who could truly fly, and then we realize that they all are heading out the window. Poor Nana gets the crappy end of the stick, of course, and gets the dust, and I don't know how long she's floating there. I'm going to guesstimation. I mean, can you imagine just like rolling down your street, your Model T, and you just see this big old like this Dane-like creature just kind of floating with a hat, with the what is it? I can't a little
the bonnet.
Bonnet. I couldn't think of that. Thank you very much. Now, here we are, and their destination in flying, we figure out, is going to be Neverland. Correct? Now, as they're heading to Neverland, we then discover a clarity of introducing us to an antagonist, which happens to be Hook, a very dedicated first mate, which happens to be Shmi, and a very questionable crew that questions everything Hook does right now because he seems to have an infatuation with Peter Pan himself. Now, with Peter Pan, he also has a group called the Lost Boys, and we figure at this point, once again, my likeness for, oh my God, Belle just gets lessons and lessons as she tragically leaves, and Peter and Hook finds out that they're in the air via style. I'm trying to think here. Telescope? No.
Yes.
Looking. What's the term when you telescope? Thank you, telescope. Sorry, guys, for my ignorance there. But spots Peter Pan, Wendy, and John, and decides to fire upon them. Right as they're doing this, Tinkerbell decides to lead Wendy into the group, at first speeding into a place to hide, and tries to trick the Lost Boys and throwing rocks and knives and all these crazy things at her. Now, here we are at this point. All these introductions of characters, we understand the crocodile also has Hook's hand. We understand that Shmi is very dedicated. Now, with this pacing, with this excitement going on and so forth as well, what's our opinion on the film so far? I want to go ahead and start with you, Yaya, if you don't mind. We are now here in Neverland. We're introduced to a slew of characters. How are you feeling?
So, a quick tidbit is that, like, do you know that fairy dust was added later on by Jan Berry because kids were legit jumping off beds and hurting themselves?
What?
The novel Peter Pan that Jan Berry wrote, it went through a lot. He was constantly actually revising it, especially like when he was like putting it into play. And then so the original one was that like they could just fly, but of course children being children was all like, we can do it too, and we're jumping off of beds and getting hurt, to the point that Jan Berry had to finally incorporate, oh, you can fly with the help of pixie dust.
Oh my god.
So the pixie dust thing was not added in until kids started jumping off beds. Anyways, children, you know.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
So at this point, like, you know, my favorite, okay, so I see like Q say like when somebody said Tinkerbell is their favorite, like, so, yeah. Peggy says it's what is it? Peggy says that someone tells her Tinker is their favorite character, I'm instantly sus. I'm sus too, because my favorite character is Captain Hook. Something wrong with me.
Captain Hook is the best character.
I swear I don't have daddy issues.
Hey, there's some angles though where Hook is talking to Peter Pan or like Belle, and you see those eyes reflected, and you're like,
oh my god, no, especially like especially in the beginning where
right.
he's still like put together and like nice and coiffed. And I remember correctly, he shoots one of his.
He does.
He shoots one of his crewmates, and this was like, as an adult, I'm just like, oh wow, this was quite violent. As a kid, I was kind of like, what happened to the guy? Why isn't he singing anymore? So as an adult, I'm more of like, oh, but you know what? That makes him hotter to me as an adult now. So sorry. I told Steph in the beginning, I'm just gonna be simping for Captain Hook this whole hour. So be prepared for that. But
duly noted. Duly noted.
But anyways, but yeah, no, the introduction of characters is really interesting. And of course, Tinkerbell is this absolute B word because she is telling like, oh, Peter told you to shoot down the Wendy bird. Yeah. This little thing is legit trying to murder children. Yeah. And it's crazy. And like, I love like the Lost Boys. I think they're so adorable. I love Slightly. I love the little skunk one. The little skunk one is so Nibs.
Noodles.
Noodles.
Thank you, JP.
Yes. But yeah, so I love the characters. I love the introduction because you went from something that was really slow and suddenly it's now like a lot more fast paced. So I love the change in that. And I love how, like, you know, when you first see Neverland, the color and everything is just so beautiful. The rainbow over like Mermaid Lagoon. Oh my gosh. And I think the ride at Disneyland makes that perfect. It's exactly like that feeling.
Oh, that's no joke. I was about to say one of my first rides was actually Peter Pan, and I love it. For that reason too as well. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but please continue. Sorry.
But yeah, I just love everything. And then as an adult, Hook, so hot after shooting his crewmate. Just saying.
On that note, with character development and just all out this, just characters in your favorites in general, I want to move over to JP, my friend. We are introduced now into Neverland with a ridiculously colored cast of characters. Are there any ones that are sticking out to you the most? How are you feeling with the storyline so far as well?
Well, I do want to point out that before they got to Neverland, Tinkerbell was body shaming herself in the mirror. I don't know if you caught on to that.
I didn't think of that.
She was using her hands and pointing out that she was not happy with her hip size, which made me go, oh, really quickly. So, I mean, I'm not going to make any excuses for Tinkerbell, but maybe it's just her self-hatred being projected onto Wendy.
Accurate.
But yeah, everything's quite fun. The Lost Boys are always fun. I love how they have these like old school pajama type animal wear. I mean, it's super cute. The Lost Boys are always super great, and of course, Toodles has always had a place in my heart because my favorite movie with Peter Pan, of course, is Hook. And Toodles is just so adorable in that film as an older man. So, I mean, it's just really great. But back to the animated one, I do like the storytelling. I do think that there's like a really great ensemble of characters that can just keep the story going and make it interesting.
Excellent. Right on. Craig, I want to move over to you, my friend. Is there in particular, when at this point, considering that we are introduced to Hook, Shmi, we're looking at the whole group of the Lost Boys, the questionable dedication of his actual crew that's with him at the time being, and we also have like Tinkerbell creating organized chaos, trying to actually kill somebody, and she admits it, and Peter Pan at the time being says, "You are now banned for life," until apologizes and so forth. So we get this vibe of kind but crazy chaos. At this point, Kurt, is there like any characters that are sticking out to you the most as well? Or how are you enjoying the story so far?
So as I mentioned, I was not a Disney kid. Like
yeah.
All the Disney movies are just vague memories of I always call it misery porn because they're all just super depressing, miserable like stories for kids about like dead parents and stuff. But that being said, I think like rewatching Peter Pan as an adult who vaguely remembers the animated thing, I think it's a lot more fun than a lot of the other Disney movies. Because a lot of the older Disney movies, it's just that like sad melancholy, not my thing, princesses and stuff. So once they get to the island, like it picks up. It's like an adventure movie. And Captain Hook is the star by far. I think he's just really not so much in like the play and stuff in the book, but in the Disney movie, he seems like the most fleshed out character. Like there's those little moments where you can see like he has a story, whereas a lot of the other characters just kind of fill a role of like Peter Pan's kind of a jerk, Tinkerbell's kind of a jerk, and then the kids are all kind of, a lot of them really don't, other than Wendy, they don't really have personalities. They're just kind of interchangeable kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Captain Hook really takes the stage for me. And his stuff with the crocodile, who I guess kind of looks more like an alligator, but that's a whole other story as a wildlife biologist. But yeah, I think Hook is really the star for me. And that might also be because of Shrek. Hook playing the piano in the supervillain bar.
Yeah, okay, I see that.
So, yeah.
That's great. That's great.
I mean, by far, he lights up the screen.
And that's the weird thing, from that point, I was thinking the same thing because, my connection with the film essentially was getting a VHS tape once a year from my grandma, Gina. And one of the ones that I think the second one she got me was the Peter Pan version. And the funny thing, Kurt, you brought this up. Yeah, you brought this up, JP, as well. By all means, trifecta mentions this excellent point, is that at the time seeing this film, you never really understand as a kid that like your previous favorite characters just were visually appealing or something that really connected to you as a kid, right? And now watching adult, you're like, what the hell? Like I used to try to make up an excuse for Tinkerbell like once or twice. I'm like, she's trying to protect her friend. She really likes the guy. And now I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh, she truly tried to murder Wendy. What the hell? Or coming into that concept. Now looking at Hook now, I used to freaking hate him. I hated him as a kid. I never understood why like he was so dead set on trying to kill Peter, and yet now seeing him having PTSD and anxiety over an alligator crocodile that hypothetically took his hand off with in general, and Shmi having that abusive relationship of being yelled at and gonked at, but also being the person to be there to take care and shoo the crocodile away, being that as well. So it's interesting, the more or the different angles you look for you look at these characters from, now that you're much, now that we're much older and so forth as well. So I always find that interesting. Now I'm going to actually go ahead and touch base on the cringier part, in my opinion, of this film. When we are introduced to the Native Americans, which they unfortunately keep on mentioning as Indians and so forth as well in here. I will say this. The only part that I actually was enjoying about the actual characters were how, I would say, they would bother themselves slightly with the inconveniences of the idiots around them, and they would just accept it with a little, like I'd say calm pose in a sense. Other than that, in my opinion, I'm going to start off with this. There's no way to beat around it. At the time, also just a side note here, I don't know if you guys knew this. So Walt Disney, upon the film being released, was not upset per se at the receiving of the profits of the film. He wasn't really excited about it, but wasn't like in a negative concept. However, he was furious with the character Peter Pan. To him, the character was too violent, cold-hearted, and didn't seem to really capture the attention that he wanted. Later on, however, the rest of, I would say, some heavy critics of the film that allowed to get higher ratings of the film brought up a great point. They said the original author of the book was known to be very dark, maniacal, and a sociopath. So upon all this, it kind of reflected the character properly on what the character actually was, and would explain a little bit more. So that being said, there has been references towards a film about certain things. Also, if you ever watch this film on Disney Plus, they make references saying the fact that obviously in today's culture, there was, references to cultural appropriation, things that we shouldn't show to fellow, POCs and so forth as well. So obviously, don't get me wrong, don't agree with that. That being said, going through the introduction, I still love the character Tiger Lily, know who she is, just because I thought she was a badass. Even being kidnapped, she still was inside that, boat and was like, do your thing. This is ridiculous. I mean, that and the fact, let's not forget that during the attempted rescue, they practically almost let her drown for like 2 minutes. I thought that was kind of crazy in general. But with that being said, you have, Peter and the Lost Boys being introduced to the actual Native Americans, their agreements, the disagreements, knowing the fact that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The Native Americans obviously being upset because Tiger Lily was kidnapped, and they wanting to find Tiger Lily. That being said, they then propose the idea of, if you do not save her, you guys are done. And that's when the Lost Boys, Peter Pan, rescues Tiger Lily. We had the situation there, seeing the rest of the crew from Hook and so forth duke it out with Peter. We understand that the crocodiles brought back in references again because of the initial duke outs they have with one-on-one references. Now, Peggy, thank you. She redeems the term hydrate, my friend. So if you have a drink, please drink, pull it up. Hydrate, don't dehydrate.
I'm drinking with you.
Thank you. I was going to ask you, JP. I was going to say, a silent, but I hear you drinking.
Here, ching ching.
Love it. Love it. So at this point, once again, thank you for doing that, Peggy, because I'm going to do it again just because there's been a lot of talking here. So that being said, we understand there's technically almost at this point, don't forget the mermaids and of who they are. Technically, there's 4 different groups of people we're introduced to. So you have the Native Americans, the Lost Boys, Hook's crew, and the mermaids in this whole interaction, trying to one save the other, others take care of it, then duking out. There's a lot of craziness going on. In the end, this whole concept gets to the point where they rescue Tiger Lily, and they go back to the Native Americans' home area, and they celebrate. Once again, I'm not the most happiest about these scenes that they portray all the time, but that's neither here or there at this moment. However, I would like to start with Yaya on this here, my friends. So now that we have 4 different areas, we have the Native Americans, we have the mermaids, we have Hook, we have Peter Pan. They just did a rescue mission, which they might hint out of another interaction conflict they may have. How are we feeling right about now?
So this is again, like, I love the pacing here is because like there's just so much things happening. Why I just still wonder why everything is trying to murder Wendy. I'm like, this poor girl. It's like she's okay with it. She's okay with it, and I'm just like,
it's okay.
But there is also a reason why Tiger Lily is the only one that's not red. Just saying, because she's supposed to be attractive. Just saying. Just saying.
See that shit? Oh. Wait, say that again, JP. Sorry, didn't mean to miss it.
Shots fired.
Yep, all day long.
Like, there's a reason why she's not red and not super caricatured. Just saying. But that's her help is actually her only line in the whole film.
Exactly.
She stays silent throughout like the rest of it, and it's Okay, this is gonna be. I'm so problematic. What makes the Red Man Red was actually my favorite song as a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course I can't say now as an adult, I'm
But
like,
you're a kid, you know what I mean?
But as a kid, like that song slapped.
It is probably the catchiest song. That's the weakest thing I think is the songs in this movie compared to the other Disney movies. But that is probably the catchiest song. It's
It
terrible.
is, right? So I'm just like, okay, I can't say it now. It's not, but it's back then as a kid, I was like, yeah. I never understood the lyrics as a kid. I just know it's just the main character, what makes the Red Man red, and then the rest I was just like vibing with it. Didn't know what else was part of, like that's why I was kind of like, wait, why is like the whole sequence happening, because it's supposed to be explaining like the lyrics or something like that. But other than that, I was kind of like, but yeah, this part I like it. And then like if remember correctly, this is also like you have Tinkerbell on the side watching, right?
Yeah, she's hardly helping at all. That's what I'm. Sorry, go on.
she's banished until like Peter Pan's like fickleness like raises its head, and also like he's supposed to be sociopathic by the way. Peter Pan is supposed to be sociopath. He's actually supposed to be darker, but Disney was all like, oh, this might be a little sus. But no, I love this. I love this scene. I love everything about it as a kid. Can't say that now as an adult.
No,
but,
yeah.
But it was good, and I loved you have the transition from everything. It's like it was such. I love because it was such. It's if you guys know me, I always have a thing with pacing. If a movie's pacing is really bad, it messes with me because I'm like, oh God, I'm so bored at this part. I love Peter Pan because it paces so well. It's just action, 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 a little bit of lull, but it lulls so well. And then like the cuts and everything. So I like it a lot.
Right on. JP, I'm going to move to you, my friend. So we have all this organized chaos going on with technically 4 different areas of, once again, just a side note, we have the mermaids, we have the Lost Boys, we have the Native Americans, and we also have, did I say Native Americans, Last Boys? Oh, pirates. I apologize. But they did this rescue mission finally for Tiger Lily and were successful at the very end. How are we feeling at this point of the film? Any characters sticking out to you? Obviously, things that possibly make you upset. Anything that you want to talk about specifically?
So Tiger Lily has always been my favorite character in this film. I don't know why. I just think because of the way that she was written, she didn't really need to speak to be seen and to be heard. And I think that has that stands by on its own. Tiger Lily just stands on her own. She's just that amazing, I feel. The pacing is really, really good. I do like all of the adventure going on. That damn song though. It's the song.
Yeah.
And the portrayal of the indigenous. But and I just got out of a 15-week critical race theory seminar, and the last thing we tackled was tribal crit. And so I was a little sensitive about it. So I was like, okay, I kind of had to pull myself away and just like, oh, okay. I mean, it shows part of our history and how like Americans or the what would you say, the colonists or whatever, how they portrayed these people. And as much as like we want to kind of like be like, oh, that's bad, we should cancel it, we also need to be reminded of our history and how these things actually went down. But I will say, if they come after Peter Pan's flight over at Disneyland and Disney World like they went after Splash Mountain, I'm like, no, I won't have it. Peter Pan, you're in trouble, girl. They better not come after it.
I'll be there with you. Same.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
Every time I'm on that ride, I cry. So they better not come after his flight.
Oh, yeah, that's excellent points there. Kurt, I want to move to you, my friend. Like I said, we're talking about organized chaos, 4 different parties at the vid, introduction of characters, rescue mission successful. Is there any parts, specific parts in this organized chaos really stick out to you, enjoying, dislike?
Well, I guess a couple of comments. So spoiler for people that watch this feed and see me on other stuff. So I'm a white guy. And I'm constantly the one who's always calling out the racism and stuff. But I do for the better part of the last, I guess over 10 years now, I've been working for a tribe in Southern California. I work for indigenous people. I'm surrounded by indigenous people. And it's fascinating to see like how completely wrong like their portrayal is, and especially the Disney people lived in Southern California, right?
Yeah.
So they could have just driven to one of like 30 reservations and been like, hey, we'd like to get some indigenous, and not that was common at the time, but people did it. Like there's a long history, and it's fascinating as a guy who's like a film nerd. If you watch like early film, starts out less racist, and then it gets more racist over time, and then back down less racist. And that happens. That's a Hollywood thing. I have no idea why, but it's fascinating. But then my other comment is with all these different parties going around, there's the hypothesis, people put their theories onto these kind of things. And some people will say that it's like the afterlife, basically. That's where they go. And rewatching that with kind of that in the back of my head as somebody who, like I said, didn't watch these, don't remember these as a kid. It feels very much like it is the afterlife. I don't know if that was intentional or unintentional, but you have like the pirates who might be in hell, I guess. You got the Lost Boys who would be like in limbo because they aren't old enough to understand, Christ's love or whatever. And then the indigenous people who wouldn't be in hell, but they might be in basically limbo because they would never have understood Christ's love if you're, Christian mind thinking about
Or they could have been the gatekeepers.
That's true. And then yeah, it's true. And it's also it's a fun, this is the fun part of the movie, right? It's an adventure story. You kind of turn off the racist stuff in your mind and just have fun with it. Hook's great. But I would love to see, and I'm sure somebody's done it somewhere. So if it exists, somebody in the comments pointed to me. I would love to see a perspective from an indigenous person as like the written, where it's like the tribe of people surrounded by these insane white people, basically. The colonizers just like battling and kids that never age, and they're just stuck here on this island with these people. That's got to be, if it's not a story, please somebody write it from a perspective of the tribe just surrounded by insane people.
That is fantastic. So I hate to do this to you guys, so I'll do this to go take one partially for the team. So KD in LA, I'm gonna go ahead and read some of these comments here. Redeemed sing mode. So we have to talk about the next few things in a tone-like style and sing and do a little dance for people. So hypothetically, I'm going to go to the comments. So KDLA, the first time I saw Peter Pan was in a theater in 1975. Double feature with Dumbo. Think the lead, it was an episode of The Scarecrow. Whoa. If you're familiar with that, an old Disney serial. Q-Ball says, am I wrong? The Peter acted like a douche ass. Fuck boy to Wendy. But Wendy was like infatuated with Peter. Tinkerbell was jealous of Wendy because she was in love with Peter himself. Going into more comments, Katie in LA says, you're not wrong, the douche ass fat boy. I'm not sure since can't picture what really means. Haha. And then Nom Talk sits in with the, oh no. Peggy, once again, thank you for the sing mode. So I'm going to continue to butcher this a little bit. Says, see, this is why I started singing lessons. Ha ha ha. All right, so with these lovely singing dance comments, guys, I'm going to go ahead and shift over a little bit of the singing mode towards, who should I switch singing mode to? Yaya, I'm sorry, but I'm getting a little sick of singing myself. So at this point in the story, we realize now that the Lost Boys are trying to head over to the pirates. Wait, hold on. Sing mode, screw me up.
No.
I'm confused.
Kidnapping.
Thank you, kidnapping. Thank you. Wait. Yeah, I gotta throw it to you. I'm slightly confused. You were at the kidnapping point. Tell me how you feel. Please expand a little bit more towards this film and try to sing.
Sorry, I'm really tone deaf, so I can't really do this as well. But I remember if it's in the book that reason why Tinkerbell is really sus is because fairies are only small enough to have one emotion at a time, which is why she's always constantly angry, because fairies' bodies are really small. They can only hold one emotion at a time. So that's why she's always constantly being a B word. Yeah, which is why the new franchise really messed that up. Anyways, I don't know, but I'm just like, dang, she got kidnapped. I want to be kidnapped. I can't do this either.
It's okay. Really I'm gonna cut this off because I probably suffered immediately. Peggy, I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to not really hurt anybody more ears. Yeah, thank you for attempting to follow up to my really butcher-esque of a singing tone. But please continue, my friend. You don't have to sing. Go right ahead. Thank you for being such a trooper. Peggy, once again, thank you for the sing-along and the hydrate.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so
Katie in LA. I'm sorry, Katie in LA. Peggy, once again, thanks for hydrate. Katie LA. I got to that sing mode. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Anyways, okay, yeah. So sorry that like the sing mode really threw me off, but yeah. So Tinkerbell gets kidnapped, and like so originally Disney had Tinkerbell telling Hook of her own volitions where the Lost Boy is because she's so angry. They had to change it because they thought even that was too much of a B word for Tinkerbell, that like it had to be that she was coerced by Captain Hook's charms. But you know what, I totally fall for it too, so I don't blame her.
But his eyes when he's talking to freaking Tinkerbell, and he's like, they're like a freaking like gold bronze thing, and I'm like, oh boy, you look attractive as hell.
Oh my god, yes. So it's like, oh my god, you know what, I would have been the original Tinkerbell, be like, hey, I'll tell you where it is, can I bring your crew? It's like
I mean, to be fair, for like Tinkerbell and Tiger Lily and stuff, there's really like two attractive men on this entire island, right? Hook and Peter Pan, and everybody else is, like,
and then Tinkerbell happens to love Peter. I'm like, come on. That boy looks like the son of the Green Giant.
Oh, he does.
With his little like weird jumpsuit and his little hose and everything, I'm just like, dang, you have man here. But anyways, but yeah, so like Tinkerbell gets tricked, and that kind of stuff. So that's like they had
to the hangman's tree, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And of course, like here also I think here's like where you have like kind of a weird, things aren't as pretty in paradise as we expect. Wendy's kind of getting sick of like Peter's shtick. And she's like, I kind of want to go home. And then I don't blame her. Like, this boy has led her through like near death experiences the moment he like met her. I wouldn't want to stay either. And then you just happen to have the Lost Boys like, I want to go too. And I always love it. I think this is all versions when like Lost Boys want to go home, and they're always like, yeah, we'll take you back to mother. I'm like, I don't think your mom and dad can feed all these children. Oh my god, they're gonna go to, this is like the what was it, early 1900s. These kids are going to go to the work factories. They're gonna be happy. I'm like, stay in Neverland.
Oh my god, that's right. That's demented and true. Like half of them would have been chimney sweepers at this point.
They're gonna be like, what was it, like the like step in time.
They'd be the cast of Newsies.
Yes, JP. Oh my god. On that, oh my lord. On that note, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt Yaya.
I'm done.
We're gonna move over to the concept of continuing. We understand the kidnap concept. We understand the fact that, okay, great. Now they send the hangman tree, and obviously there's a big confrontation and a duke out. In the midst of the duke out, we obviously the Lost Boys being pro Peter Pan. We have the pirates being awfully pro Hook. Now we have the constant overdue fight between Peter Pan and Hook himself. Now we understand that it goes back and forth saying, are you going to actually fly? Not fly? Are we going to do this? Given the fact that I almost totally skipped over the fact that Hook tried to go ahead and blow up the whole hangman tree in the first place with the bomb, because he said he would never, hurt him with a sword or a hook.
Harm a single hair on his head or something like that.
With the hook or the sword, right? Yeah. And he was being a little bit more sarcastic on that. Hold on, I have good comments here. Peggy says, amazing, Katie, thank you for that. Peggy says, also that sing-along was all KD. KD in LA says, I think we need to pick the song they need to sing next time. Oh, okay. And KD in LA says, I vote for a Bust a Move. Dang, okay, all right. Peggy says, KD in LA, when I had to do it, picking a melody was the hardest part. That's a great idea. All right, we will take those suggestions in consideration. Oh my God, having to butcher a poor song though, that would be a little scary. We'll go on that a little later. That being said, we now actually have, obviously concept of, him attempting to blow him up in the first place. I had to backpedal a little bit, go back in the concept of having confrontation. So we're now having the duke out between Hook and Peter Pan. Now, we know the result because obviously at this point, Peter shows the win, and then you have the classic crocodile come by as the pirates try to run away. The big thing is, though, Hook is actually trying to run away from the crocodile itself, going in the air, being somehow defying gravity and physics the first couple of times, and then actually going out, calling for Schmied as he's chasing the distance with actual Schmied in tow with pirates matching the speed. Now, as we see this, we see mainly Peter Pan, Wendy, we see Michael and George technically wanting to go home and flying towards said destination. Then we actually see the actual father, George, coming home with mother and thinking at first that the kids are out of bed. In reality, they see Wendy sleeping next to the ledge. Wendy fesses up to everything I just practically said. Now, at this moment, Wendy also mentions that she's willing to grow up. The father mentions that he may overreacted and he never meant any of those negative things. He also mentions to Wendy, like, hey, maybe you don't have to grow up so early. So as we have this real feel-good moment, he brings Nana back in. She seems to be okay. I have to start with you, JP. What are you feeling right now, my friend, from the point of them actually having the duke out to the ending at this moment? How's the pacing? What's your opinion towards the end of this film?
I do feel as if the ending was a little rushed. We did go from Neverland into basically back into London really, really quickly. I don't think that all of the loose ends were tied up over in Neverland, which could be a good thing or a bad thing if they wanted to do a sequel, which they never did. But, did they do a sequel to it?
Yeah, with Wendy's daughter Jane.
Oh, see,
holy crap! The live action one, right?
No, it's Jane. It's the.
It really is.
It came out in the 2000s.
Oh, I have to catch up.
Yes, never like Peter Pan 2, like Return to Neverland or something like that. Yeah.
I have
It's
never.
like during like World War II or World War I, one of those.
Oh wow.
World War One, right?
One, I think so.
Hold on, real quick here. Katie and I brought up a really good point. I want you to continue, JP. So please, I'm not going to interrupt you. I want you to go back to your points you're making. But Katie says, let's see here. Question: do you guys have thoughts on the fact that Hook is the father? It's the same character. The dad's just a little chubbier. That's a theory going. I didn't know if you guys have there. And then Cue Ball mentions, here's my question to the panel. Sorry for jumping ahead a bit. Do you think, and at the ending scene connecting, I'm sorry, Q, some of the comments kind of cut off a little bit here. I'm trying to read it, and on my screen it cut half it off. Do you think at the ending scene connecting to the early 90s film, he's asking if the ending scene of this film actually connected pretty well with the early 90s film Hook. And then Peggy says the last sentence, I think live action ones are more effective in getting that across. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, JP. Back to your point, you said you felt like the ending was a little rushed and that the fact that you're at that there might have been some points that haven't been necessarily covered.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like it was a little bit rushed. But yeah, for the most point, I did like how the end they did kind of save George Darling a little bit.
Okay.
They did kind of humanize him a little bit, so I can kind of forgive him a little bit. Yeah, and of course you have like the sweet little Nana. Like, I mean, she's just absolutely adorable. I do like how the father was really pushing for Wendy to grow up pretty quickly. Like, it's happening tomorrow, whether you like it or not. And how it's like, okay, I guess you can be a kid. Because I do feel as if like there's a lot of pressure on kids to like grow up fast, especially nowadays, you know? There's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves. There's a lot of pressure that their parents put on them. A lot of pressure that like social media puts on them. Including TikTok. So, I mean, it's really great that the ending of the story, they commented about how kids should be allowed to be kids for how long they want. I mean, like me, I have Peter Pan syndrome. I'm still a kid at 40 years old. So, I mean,
heck yeah. Give you a
That's all
hypothetical fist bump.
right? I think that comes with my gay card. So
Right.
I did like it. And I have seen all of the films in the Peter Pan world realm, except for the one that Yaya said with Jane. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to do that one now, Yaya. So thank you. But I do think it ties really well with Hook. I already commented about Hook at the beginning, and with Toodles. Toodles is my favorite person in Hook. I mean, and I'm so obsessed with this entire Peter Pan universe. I mean, I even have a tattoo of Neverland on my chest, and on the other side, I have a tattoo of Peter Pan that I got on the day Robin Williams died. So, and even geek out a little bit more, I am a Disney pin collector, and my entire collection is all Peter Pan.
JP, I mean, I'm gonna stalk you later and find your pin collection and drool over it, hopefully.
There you go, right? And I even got to see Finding Neverland on Broadway on closing week because I was performing in New York at that time, and I got to see one of the last performances. And that's the story about Jay and Barry. And when you actually know his story, it actually makes more sense about like how Peter Pan acted in this film. You know? So
Right
yeah.
on. Very cool. Thank you very much. Kurt, I want to move on to you, my friend, with this crazy concept of the ending of the the antagonist and the protagonist duking it out to the ending of transferring back to actual home and reality, hypothetically speaking. Maybe, maybe not. How are you feeling with the ending? And is there any characters, any points that really stuck out to you?
Yeah. So as somebody who's more of like a movie guy and a play guy, yeah, the classic actor who plays George plays Hook, the stage play kind of thing, really feeds into the idea, that it's the same character. And if you kind of look at their interactions, except for, I mean, Hook does try to kill Peter Pan, but is he really trying to kill Peter Pan, or is it like a game they're all playing? And then the end of the movie, yeah, like I said, Hook's the star for me. So it's the Hook movie, and when they made Hook, it should have just been about Hook. Like, I love Robin Williams, but all the Peter Pan stuff is the Hook stuff is way more interesting because he just seems like a more thought out, balanced character. He has like mental health issues, like he's dealing with all this stuff. I love pirates anyways. So all this stuff is just fun. Of course, being eaten by crocodiles, bad news. but and then I like the ending because, like I said, a lot of the Disney movies to me are like that misery porn, where it's just the whole movie just so depressing, like Bambi or all these like dead parents and sad endings, The Lion King. Like I can't handle that. But the ending is like a pretty positive, like up ending in the sense that the kids get to be kids and they hopefully go back to living homes and not work in the coal mines or something. So it's good, but yeah, I have other thoughts about this movie. But
quick question for you, Kurt, on this response here. We had somebody redeem something, so that's so punny. Cue Ball redeemed it, and he chose you, my friend, to why you're explaining if you can come up with a pun as a reaction to.
Oh gosh, I guess I'm hooked on this movie. Yes, 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 yes. Kurt.
I like that one too much, Kurt. Sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah, the end of the movie is great, and of course, yeah, all the action stuff on the. Here's a slight aside. So if Neverland is a place, right? It must be like Florida, because you got pirates, and those kind of pirates are generally associated with like the Caribbean, right? And other parts of the world. But if there's indigenous Native Americans, then they're dressed like Eastern US kind of stereotypes. So actually, it might be off the coast of maybe the Carolinas. They might have been stuck off an island of the Carolinas based on what was going on there. So
no, I can see that. I can see that.
That's my theory.
I like that. Before I go to you, I want to read a question, comment some real quick here. Katie in LA says, JP, I'm 57 and still a kid. I must get older, but I refuse to grow up. Pudgy Stitch says, Finding Neverland was the best. Peggy says, the movie Finding Neverland destroyed me. Pudgy Stitch says, there's a theory that Peter Pan kidnaps children and Hook and the pirates are actually trying to rescue the kids. Cue Ball says, I heard of that. And then Cue Ball being a laugh to your pun there, Kurt, telling you I love it. Peggy says that I like that theory, and Cue Ball apologizes to Kurt to making you have to do the pun in the first place. That said, Yaya, before I mention things to you real quick on this here, once again, same thing. We're at this organized chaos at this moment. We're at the ending. How are you feeling right now?
So the ending's really sweet. It's very much a feel good. This movie, no one dies. No one's dead except for that guy in the beginning.
Poor guy.
You know what? But you know what? He's fine. He's fine to Disney. But it's really feel good. I agree. It's like they do try to redeem, and I think like so with the theory of the Hook and the thing, it's definitely the original like plays and that kind of stuff, movies as well. But at the same time, I also feel like Neverland is in a way it is in a way Wendy's growth. It's her becoming a woman, her actually growing up, her becoming more mature. And Hook is supposed to be like a stand-in for her father, because her father in a ways it's always been the obstacle. Like her father is the one's putting a lot of pressure, and during that time there's a lot of pressure on women, especially at her age, because she's supposed to like starting to go like learn etiquette, learning like all this stuff, finding a good husband. That's a lot of pressure of her as like a woman during that age. And so that's why, like, especially, okay, this is mostly in the 2004 with the Jason Isaacs like Hook, but it's supposed to be her quote unquote sexual awakening as well. It's very, in a way, electro complex. It's a very much that kind of stuff. And also want to address the theory that kidnapped children. There's also another theory that Hook is actually like lost boy, and his career lost boys that grew up, and then like Peter kicked them out, and then they're just kind of like angry about that. There's a theory on that as well. But I do like the ending. I think I've never had like the feeling of like, it felt rushed, or that's personally, I like this ending a lot. It kind of just closes everything together. Everything happened. You can argue that it was a fever dream of these little kids. You can argue it's the morphine. You never know, but until the second one, I guess. But I think it closes up very well. Hook and Peter still doing their thing in Neverland. This version, the Lost Boys never joined their family. So you have the Lost Boys continuing in Neverland as well. Hook is still doing his thing. He's not dead, which he was supposed to be in the original one as well. In the original Walt Disney one, but they said it was too dark, so they just have Hook running instead. He was supposed to die. Thank God he did it. Thank God he did it. Love him. But anyway, so yeah, so I liked it. I think it closed it really well, and I think it led very well. It did make a very good transition to the Hooked movie as well, because you have in that one, you have Peter coming back and being like, hey, like, visiting, and then Wendy getting older, and then him wanting to stay. And I think that translates very well. And of course, with the sequel, it transitions well as well into that one. That's why you have everything happen in that one. I won't spoil it because you guys haven't watched it. But but yeah, no, I like the ending. I think it closes the book very nicely, and it's just everyone's happy, I guess, until World War One comes.
Oh yeah, reality. Lord, no joke here. Before I go on to my little opinion real quick here, Katie in LA was like mentioned Hook was a lost boy or the pan. It's a reference suggested in the line that he recalls the song music. It's something I remember back when I was a little boy, which also brings up a great reference towards the end of the film. Yes, other than the obviously great points you guys brought up of the hints of toxic masculinity kind of relieving itself and hoping the hint of like, look, you don't have to grow up necessarily at this point. Given with that portion, there are obviously things that I disagree with in the film. However, the film did make a major impact on me. Two things I've heard, like a lot of you guys saying you've seen the film, and just, JP, you mentioned that you cannot just can't seem to grow up. I have a saying that I kind of technically hyphened from this film, where it's never grow up, never surrender. One of those things I have always listened to. I'm 36 and I just don't refuse to go ahead and just go against what I necessarily want to do with my life. That being said, I'm gonna get a little mushy here. My very first cosplay was with producer Steph over there, and she was in her Rufio cosplay, and I was in a hypothetical business pan Peter. So my glasses, and I was definitely Robin Williams see Peter in the beginning. So a lot of emotions and feels. I love it. So that being said, a lot of memories, a lot of good memories with this here. Once again, guys, thank you for joining us. We're getting a little close to the ending of time today, but I definitely want to go ahead and give a shout out to each and every one of you. Please go ahead and let everybody know where they can reach you on your socials. JP, I would like to start with you, my friend.
You can reach me on Instagram. I'm Rapoetz, Rapoetz on Instagram. You can find me under JP Rapozo on Facebook.
Right on. Yaya, you, my friend, where can we reach you on your socials?
You can find me on YouTube. I do videos about Chinese culture, Chinese history, and all that fun stuff. You can find me. I think they do the app now, at @JPalazaya, but you can also just type in JPalazaya. You can find me here on Twitch, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This one's at my Hamaji though. And I just stream random games that I like playing at the moment. And you can also find me on other social media through like Instagram, TikTok, and all that fun stuff, either at JPalazaya or at my Hamaji.
Right on. Kurt, you, my friend, where can we reach you on your socials?
Instagram is WLFK Films, and my TikTok, I think, is the Kurt Broz or Kurt Broz. I don't know. If you look at my name, it'll pop up, I'm sure. You'll see weird stuff. And then just remember that to die would be an awfully big adventure.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Man, I gotta have to follow that shit, Kurt. You guys can find me on my Instagram at IAMCOWIE. That's I am Cowie. I do a lot of posting, social media content, acting skits. Have fun with it. Going into Cowie Collector account. That's COWIE Collector. COLLECTOR. I do a lot of still photography with a lot of toys and photos and so forth. So that's all the time we have to talk about today on Peter Pan. Once again, thank you for my guests for joining you. You guys are always amazing. JP, it was nice to meet you. I hope you come in future shows, please. We have things as well. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to join our Discord to keep the conversation going, as well as subscribing to all of our platforms at Nom Talk Network. Tune in to our next show, which I'm going to scroll down to give you right here because I got that info right here. Next show is going to be on the 3rd for Basic Finches, host Mike Manala, where we're going to be talking about episode 1 of Mandalorian in season 3. So I'm really hyped to see this Star Wars. Yeah! That being said, thank you everybody for joining us. Never grew up, never surrender. Have a lovely night. Bye.
Yay, bye.